Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Say, do you know how much it would cost to get a singing ensemble?
Acquire?
Okay, how much would it cost to acquire a singing ensemble? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at The Bell of Treason, 1938 Munich Crisis in Czechoslovakia from GMT Games. The Bell of Treason, 1938 Munich Crisis in Czechoslovakia from GMT Games, is a two-player, or solo game, in which one player takes on the role of the Czechoslovaks who want to concede to the Germans, give in to Hitler's demands, and those that want to defend their homeland against the Third Reich. Now, this is part of GMT Games' lunchtime series of games. These are small games that take about a half an hour to play, and yet they still pack quite a bit of punch. Now, we've seen the system used here implemented before first in Fort Sumter. It was 2018, 2019, I think. And then we saw more recently the Red Flag over Paris, which was about the Paris Commune. And so this game is going to be very familiar to you if you have played some of those earlier games. Now, I'm not going to get into a deep look at the rules here. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the basics of gameplay and what I think. Now, essentially, on the game board, you have what are called dimensions. You have international, government, military, and public. And each of these dimensions have kind of three areas in them. One of the areas is kind of the primary area. And what you're trying to do throughout the game is control these areas with your cubes. You have your pool, but over time, more cubes, you'll gain access to more cubes throughout the gameplay. You've also got a mobilization card, which has some cubes on it that is partial mobilization. Some game events will allow it to flip over to full mobilization as well, which can help one side. And then you've also got kind of a German track where kind of various German events will play out on the board as well. Now, when you start the game, each player is going to start with their final decision card. And this is kind of a special objective card that you're going to have. You can play this card over the course of the game for the point value if you want, or you can hang on to it for the end of the game where it will probably help you more. Now, at the beginning of each round, each player will get 5 strategy cards and 2 objective cards. You're going to look at the objective card, which will say if you control a certain space by the end of the round, you will gain points. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to select one of those, put the other one back in the box. You're going to put that objective card face down so your enemy doesn't know what it is. But then with your cards, you're playing this almost like a traditional CDG. You can play these cards for the operational points, or you can play them for the events if it is your color. You're going to have the initiative phase here to determine who's actually going to have the opportunity to go first or second. And your initiative is determined by your position on the scoring track. Now, this is a tug-of-war scoring system, and if you have it on your side, then the player who does not have it on their side will get to determine who is going to go first and who is going to go second. Now, as I say, players alternate taking turns playing their cards. Now, again, you can play a card for its event if it matches your color or if it's neutral. You can go ahead and do it. And you will have the opportunity as well, if there is a card in the discard pile that is of your opponent's event, you can actually have the opportunity to play that event as well. But in order to play a previously discarded card, you must discard a card with the same or greater point value. Now, if you choose to play that card for operations, you can persuade. For every point you have, you can choose to persuade by removing an enemy's cube from the board, or you can go ahead and escalate by placing one of your cubes on the board. However, very often you're going to have to adhere to placement rules when you do that. Some locations have adjacency to others, but those locations don't have adjacency to them. It's a matter of where the arrows are going, so you have to be very careful when you're placing cubes during your turn. Now, during the course of this back and forth, you have these crisis tracks. If you're going to place cubes, eventually you may run out of cubes in your pool, in which case you're going to break into the crisis track, and each player's crisis track has more of their opponent's cubes in it than their own. So if you actually choose to move in there, you're going to give your player an advantage because they'll have more cubes. At the end of that track, if you break in there, you will actually lose victory points. Now, at the end of every round, you're going to go to scoring. You're going to look and see who controls that pivotal space. That will give them some certain advantages to kind of manipulate the board again. You're going to see how they score there. You're going to look at your objective card scoring and see if you were able to fulfill that objective. If you did, you will gain additional points. Again, it's a tug of war. You're seeing which side the score tracker is going to end on. Now, after the 3 regular rounds, you go into the final decision round. Now, in the final decision round, you may have 4 cards if you haven't played your final decision card, if you never used it during the game. But you can only go into this with 3 cards, so you will have to discard one of those cards. So you just, as I say, have 3 cards. Now, at the bottom of these 3 cards, there are locations. And what you're going to do is you're each going to flip over a card at the same time. If it's the same location, nothing happens. Now, if you flip it over and there are different locations, then the initiative player in order can go ahead and determine if he wants to go to that location and escalate or persuade. And then the opponent can do the same thing with their location. You play through all 3 cards this way, allowing you to take another persuade or escalate action until all of those cards have been played. So if the cards match, you do nothing. Otherwise, you can escalate or persuade with each of those cards. Once they're played, you go to final scoring. Now, during final scoring, you also, once again, score the military and political dimensions, but only those 2 dimensions. Now, there is the possibility that the concede player can win through Hitler's decision. There are dice rolls. If they have enough victory points and the dice roll goes the way they want it to, they can win at that point. Now, the defend player wins if they have at least 1 victory point and they have as many of their cubes in the president's space or spaces that put pressure on the president's space as the concede player has in the president's space. Otherwise, the concede player wins. The Bell of Treason, 1938 Munich crisis in Czechoslovakia. We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review. So, 1938, Bell of Treason, Munich crisis in Czechoslovakia. I played Fort Sumter and Red Flag over Paris. I thought they were both really fun and interesting games. This is a very quick area control game that packs a punch. These games feel like they're mini Twilight struggles. I really enjoyed them, and I think, to be blunt, I think you don't need them all. I mean, if you're a collector, which I get, yeah, but I mean, to me, they all kind of do the same thing, and so it's really a matter of what is your favorite theme. I would say this was, of the 3, this is probably my favorite theme. I did enjoy Fort Sumter quite a bit. But the game is fun because there's a lot of good choices. There's, with the initiative, if you choose to go first, well, yes, you get to move first. And then your enemy can kind of counter your moves, but then you also get to go first in scoring when you're scoring the pivotal locations in the dimensions. So there's a good choice there, but there's also good choices when you're playing cards. Do you play them for the operations points? Do you play them for the event? Do you play a card to activate the event for a discarded card? So there's a lot of good, like I said, there's a lot of real meaty choices in this game, and there's a lot of kind of fun. I'm just giving the overview. I didn't really get into the rules with the mobilization or the Hitler's decision. There's a lot of good and fun and thematic sugar and spice in this game that I really enjoyed quite a bit. This is another great GMT area control, quick playing game that you can play over lunchtime, right? It's really a lot of fun. I think if you're like me and you really like the history of the period and you like to kind of have this kind of what if scenario and maybe get an inkling, a better understanding of kind of what these people were trying to do and what they were up against, you'll really gravitate toward these games, and this game in particular. So I have absolutely no problem saying this is a fantastic game. On the Cody scale, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I think, like I say, if you like the history, you like fast-playing, action, area control, and card play, you're really going to dig this one. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we'd ask you to please leave a comment here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, on Twitter. Please subscribe to all of our social media. And it is very, very important to us. Please like and subscribe this video. That means a lot. We'd also ask you to check out my other YouTube channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history, books on history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please like and subscribe. Again, that would mean the world to me. And if you do really like what you see here on this channel, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, I watched the origami finals last night. It was on pay-per-view.
Oh, there's a game, oh, what you play it for? It's for having fun and learning about the Cold War. Your mind like a mental pack of sharks. We'll be putting people in their place like Karl Marx, spreading influence across the globe in one of the best stories ever told. Twilight Struggle, play it on the double. Communist troubles in Twilight Struggle. Some Jews would rather stay home with their girlfriends and snuggle, but I'd rather go and play Twilight Struggle. Oh.